Hi guys, and welcome back to our Sprinter build series. Today I'm going to show you a van-specific bike rack that has been sold overseas for years and finally made it to the US. So if you like bikes, keep on watching. Here's everything we need to do the install. We have a couple rails, a top and bottom, that go on the van door. Some arms that hold the bikes. That's some rubber trim just to kind of hide the slot after it's installed. There's the load arm. And then of course here are the load trays. And then we have some install hardware. The only thing I found that I needed that was not included was some Sikaflex 252. And I've heard this stuff is pretty viscous and can be difficult to apply. So I knew that my cheapo caulk gun probably wasn't going to work, so I bought a heavy-duty one. So let's go ahead and get on installing this. Here's all that required hardware. And first step is to use mineral spirits on the top and a portion of the van here to clean it up, because we're going to use some adhesive to attach the rails to the van, and there's also mechanical fasteners as well. So let's start with mineral spirits. Next step is to measure up from the Mercedes star. You've got this dimension up here to the top, and on a Sprinter that's less than model year 17, I think they actually meant 18, it is 74 centimeters. So we can go from the center of the star is the center of that circle, and I made a little mark at 74 centimeters. Now on a 2018 and older van, we need to measure down 44 centimeters from the star. Center of the star. Okay, it came down 44. That's 440 millimeters, which is 44 centimeters. I made a faint little mark on the body, you can just barely see there. So now I know that's where my adhesive needs to go, or I'm sorry, my paint protector label. Next step is to install the load arms. So that is this with this hardware. Okay, now this is where we put the adhesive on the back of the upper mounting rail. So they show just kind of a small amount of this material, so that's what we're going to do. And there is our light application. Let me attempt to explain what the instructions are telling us to do in this next step. This is showing that on the B side, on the right side, that we're only going to have a little bit of the sleeve that wraps around the corner of the door exposed, and that we're not going to adjust this side. We're going to do all the adjusting on the left side. So we're going to screw the left side out so that there's quite a bit of the collar exposed, and then you can see on the next page that when you put the track on the door, you're going to hook it on the right side of the door, going to press the track down, and then you're going to do all the tightening on the left side of the door track. Okay, the rail is installed. It looks level to my eye. When you tighten it down, it seems to want to kind of land in a certain way, and it looks level, so it seems good enough. So, word of advice when you go to put this on, I struggled a little bit with not being able to get to the tightening bolt on the end there. So you want to prop the door open a little bit. I was struggling a little bit to get something to shove in there while I held it in place. Anyway, with the door propped, just lay it up there, align it with your mark, which on these vans, on the older vans, is 74 centimeters, and just tighten it down from both ends. I do like the fact that this uses both adhesive and mechanical fasteners. I think that's a good way to do it. Okay, on to the next step. All right, our next step is to take our lower rail and we're going to align these brackets. One of them 176 millimeters from the end, and the next one 330 millimeters from that one. There's our 176, and this one is 330 away. And we tighten these down. And install the plastic covers. And now we go ahead, and next step is to mount the carrying arm to the lower arm. Put the bottom of the carrying arm in place and use a carriage bolt. Okay, I just noticed something. One side of this is round, the other side is square. So you want to have the square side pointing up so that the carriage bolt can lock in there. And then there are some little fancy nut covers that go on here that I'll do later. So there is now the bottom mount, or the bottom track that's attached to the carrying arm. Now we load some T-nuts in the track 60 centimeters apart. I think we can probably do that. 60 centimeters, 60 millimeters, 600 millimeters. All right, there's a bit of a discrepancy here that I don't quite understand. According to Thule, you need to, from this very far left side of the profile and the cap, you're supposed to measure 176 millimeters. However, there's no possible way I can do that. If I put this on the edge of the profile like it says, that would mean that this bracket needs to be here. The problem is that the hole is over here. The hole is right here. So I wonder if Thule meant 176 from this end cap, because that would put it in the right spot. So I'm showing 176 from this, not this. Otherwise it just simply won't work. You can't slide this over far enough and it's sitting level. So I'm going to set these 176 from the beginning of this cap. It's always good to do a little test fit. So the next step now is to go ahead and throw the adhesive on here. Okay, once again, we are now going to throw the adhesive on the lower arm, and I'll walk you through this now since I'm going to be busy when it's time to put this thing on before the adhesive sets up. So basically what we're going to do is those nuts that we put 60 centimeters apart up here, we're going to hang this thing from it, and that's going to determine where this sits on the body. And as you know, we just did a test fit, and I did end up at the, whatever it was, 44 centimeters down from the Mercedes symbol. So that means that I'm doing the proper job of lining things up. So let's go ahead and throw this adhesive on. We'll hang it, and then we basically, on the right side, it's showing that we tighten it down, and then on the left side leave it loose, and tighten it from the left side. Okay, so our alignment must have been good because we ended up, of course, at our 74 centimeters up there. And when you open the door here, we are centered right on our mark. So we were right at 44 centimeters here. And it looks to me like it is straight. So we will pick up tomorrow. I've got a hungry kiddo, so make some dinner and we will bolt on the rest of the rack tomorrow. That's the easy part. The hard part is now done. Darn you, rain. Step 11 is to go ahead and mount the bike trays using a couple bolts, some plastic spacers, and 2 nylocks. The next step is to install the rubber in the slot. I'm going to come back to that step. So next we mount the bike arms. These clamp around the upper bar, and they're showing a picture on the next page. They're using the shorter one closer to the outside of the van and the longer one here. So we'll set ours up the same way. Really happy with this bike rack. So let me tell you why I like this one. I was using a hitch rack and it was a real pain having to, mine was a tilt down and it didn't tilt down far enough to get out of the way, so I had to remove it. And what I noticed in shopping for the different racks, usually the hitch racks are about $650, and then the swing away is about another $350, whereas this rack costs about the same as just the hitch rack without having to spend, you know, another $350 on the swing away. And of course it does open with the door. And of course, can't open the door all the way because the bikes would, I can't swing it 270, otherwise the bikes would hit the van, but of course it opens 90. And it doesn't feel like it's putting any strain on the door. The door doesn't sag at all. I mean, it's lined up perfect, and it closes the same as it always did. And as far as bikes, the bikes are not touching each other. There are several inches between the bikes in every location. Come around the other side. Plenty of room here. The closest anything gets to the van is up there. That handlebar's probably 6 inches from the van, and you can adjust all this stuff. You can swing this arm out, and that'll push the bikes further out. And then these trays, you can slide them in and out. I have this inner tray all the way in, and this bike tire is about 6 inches outside the side of the van, but it's pretty much even with the rear view mirror, so it's not sticking way far out. And then you can also adjust the height of these trays. I'm in the middle position. You can lower it down here, or you can raise it to right here. I don't know if it was raised one more. I'm not sure how that would work with my bikes. I'm guessing it would work, but the bikes would be over the height of the roof. The only downside I can think of is I'm using a little stool until I get used to getting the bikes on there. I still think I'm going to need it for getting the inner bike attached. If I was carrying one bike, I think I could do it without the stool. So that's one downside. But otherwise, I think it's great. Here's the other thing: is the bikes are super sturdy. I don't have them super cinched down, and I mean they don't want to go anywhere. There are lock cores to lock the bikes to the rack. And one other thing is I'm happy that not even the cables are being touched. These cables are completely untouched, which means you're not going to scratch up your bikes. And of course, another really great thing about this rack is that this folds up out of the way when you're done. My driveway is really short, so being able to fold it up and not make the van any longer is a bonus in my book. Alright, you guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you guys next time.